Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the Last Act podcast. I am your host, Carlos Rodriguez, and with me, as always, is your second host, Brandon Gailey. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. We're both happy to be here. And before we get started on anything, we would just like to say we are using Discord right now, and we are in no way sponsored by Discord. We are just using it, using what we got right now, and yeah, we've stumbled upon some technical difficulties along the way.
Yes.
You'd be surprised to find out that this isn't our first recording. It still feels great to be here.
Yep.
However, we have stumbled upon technical difficulties. We
Yeah.
actually recorded an entire episode. Tell them.
Yep. Our first episode was 2 hours long, and then
Right.
we looked back at the footage, and it was so choppy to where we would be on one single frame for like 10 minutes long, and like obviously we can't use that. So we lowered down the settings. I'm recording over here. I lowered the settings. We're not 60 FPS anymore. We're 30 FPS, and so on and so forth. So we're hoping this one works, and we're hoping that we can show you guys this, and then we can finally go full force into creating this podcast for you guys.
No, yeah, definitely, definitely. And I mean, technical difficulties come and go, but
Yep.
what matters is that we're here, and we think we have a hold of the game so far. I
Oh yeah.
mean, we're ready, we're ready, and but yeah, so, like I said, we are working with what we've got. I know, on my end, I can't really speak for Brandon. His is already professional. We are working with what we got. I am on my phone right now, but hey, if it makes do, do.
Yep. Like you said, mine's almost professional. A lot of my stuff I've gotten from my dad. The hand-me-downs like this light, the camera, this computer actually. The computer I'm using is his old one, and he has another one right now. So yeah, I'm very fortunate with what I got. My dad owns a couple of companies where he had to get this stuff, so he was able to let me use some of his old things. So I was able to put together something that looks pretty good. So I'm very happy with my situation, and even if it's like Carlos's situation where he has to use his phone for recording and he has to use AirPods for a headset and microphone, like that's fine. I mean, we can make do with what we got. Um, just the most important thing is that we just get started. That's the number one thing. Everything else will come later on. Just getting started is what we need to do. But we're going to do our best to make that the best quality that we have. That's plain and simple. We're going to do our best to
Right.
give you guys an experience, just listening to us, listening to what we have to say. Um, so yeah,
No, definitely. Yeah, we don't have a professional setup just yet, but what we do have is ambition. With that
yeah,
ambition, we're trying to drive this podcast forward and give the people what they want. I'm not sure what that is, but we're still not sure what that is. I mean, this
yeah,
is our first episode, so we haven't really found an identity for ourselves in our podcast.
yeah. You guys will just have to give us a little bit of time to figure out what we want to do, who we're going to be, and stuff like that. There is basically only a couple of rules for this podcast. Rule number one is that we're not on our phones. Uh, we have to turn our phones on silent, put them to the side, and ignore them. Like we're just gonna be talking to each other this whole time. There's no interruptions, nothing, and the whole episode is uncut, unedited, uncensored. We can cuss, we can talk about whatever we want. Besides politics, that's the third rule. No political talk. This is gonna be like relevant stories of what we're going to talk about, relevant things that's going on right now with, and then we're going to talk about that with our guests in future episodes. But we're not going to talk about politics. That's just one thing that doesn't need to be spread, and we don't want to talk about it. And then the other thing is that there's in some podcasts there's going to be there's a break. Here we're not going to do breaks. We're just going to talk about it, see what happens, go with the flow, and over time we'll figure out what that flow is and who we're going to be. So just be patient with us while we figure that out. And even if you guys have some ideas to where what you would like to see, then put them down in the comments and let us know, because we'll be looking, we'll be checking.
Yeah, or just give us a follow on Instagram, hit us up, DM us. I mean, we'll respond pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, now that we got that out of the way, Brandon, how did we get here? What brought us to this exact moment?
So we came to this moment from PS4 party chats. We would talk. to each other,
Right. Yeah.
for hours and hours and hours, and then there was a moment to where we were just like, why not do it? You brought up the idea of, hey, let's start a podcast, and it was kind of jokingly, but
Uh-huh.
I think it was a few weeks in when we were just making that joke, and to our friends we were making that joke, and then it was kind of like a light switch to where, why not do it? We have nothing to lose and everything to gain. I mean, you and I both enjoy filmmaking. We enjoy talking about things. We enjoy learning. Excuse me. We enjoy learning about things and stuff like that. So why not do it? We have nothing to lose. Um, and I'm very happy that we're starting this. I haven't had this sense of purpose ever. So I'm very glad that we're doing this.
Yeah, I mean you nailed it right. Yeah, we really both share like an interest in many things, and with that interest comes like disagreements. For example, we watch it like a movie, and then that movie will just like lead to an argument and debate that really lets us understand each other's like philosophies and how we view the world, in a very much dramatic sense. And I think that's great to have in a friendship, where you don't really see eye to eye on many things, but you still have that equal respect for each other.
Yeah,
It's like very mutual respect, and then at the end of the day, we are still gonna be bros. It's not gonna change anything whether we like a movie or not. And that's great. That's great to have in a movie and a video game because we also share our opinions on video games and everything. But yeah, we just thought that we had too great of a conversation one time at a PS4 party to not make a podcast, and I think that's just something that if you can share that experience with a friend, I think that that is a very beautiful experience.
yeah.
Definitely. No, yeah. But yeah, all right. So we people now know how we got here, and that's great. So would you like to tell me more about
Uh,
Brandon Gailey?
uh, yeah. I think I've told you this before. Uh, if there's one word to describe myself, it'd be honest. Uh,
Right, yeah.
if when you ask me a question, you're gonna get the straight up answer, no bullshit. Uh, the best example I always use is when someone asks me how they look that day. I'm gonna either say you look good or you look bad, and you can either like the response or you can hate the response. And if you hate it, then dress better. If you like it, then you know what, you're gonna feel good. I don't care which way. If you ask my opinion, you're gonna get my opinion. Now you have to understand that my opinion is just my opinion. It's not facts. It's not whatever. So take it with a grain of salt because I'm not always right. So you gotta keep that in mind. I going back into my history, I haven't had the best childhood really. I'm not gonna go like delve into that, but over that time, it turned itself from, dang, this sucks, to me learning from that experience and becoming a better person. And over that time, I've learned that, in my experience, being more honest with people usually tend to be the best thing for them. Maybe it wasn't the best thing for me, but it was the best thing for other people. And that's what I pride myself on. I hate lying. I can't stand it. Like I feel sick when I do. So I just want to be honest with people. I want to tell them what I think, how I think it, and why I think that way. And that's kind of why I'm looking for this podcast, because then I could express to other people, like, hey, this is what I think. I mean, you can either agree with me or disagree with me, and that's okay. You can share your opinions in the comments. You can talk to us on Instagram or whatever on how you feel about certain things, and then we can just have a back and forth discussion. I like talking to people. I like learning about people. I think it's very interesting. But tell me about yourself, Carlos.
Oh, about myself, right? You know what? If there was a way to describe myself, I guess I would say I'm an improvist. Is that a word? Right?
Im-
Like I like
Improvist. It doesn't sound like a
improvise,
word.
but well, I'm making it a word. All right, I'm an improvist. I feel like I'm very much of a sort of, I don't know, I don't want to say without it sounding, cringy, but I'm much into entertaining. I feel like ever since I was in third grade, I've adopted the title of class clown. I let that go in like eighth grade, but I think like in fourth grade that really like led me in the direction that entertaining and giving a laugh to an audience was always sort of interesting to me. Whether it be like a fart joke in fifth grade that got the class riled up, I think I was like, yeah, this rocks, and that led me to in my junior high. No, yeah, 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 yeah. When I did my comedy stand up, it was great. Um, I don't know who's watching this right now, but if you know me, you might have heard of my comedy stand up that was just on the spot, and that actually, that let me some advice that maybe comedy isn't my thing, but entertaining is still something that is true to me, and I found that to be in movies, and yeah, that is who I am. I like entertaining, and what I want to do with that is bring it into a podcast. Like how Brandon has his honesty. That's going to be such a great factor to have in a podcast. I think entertaining is as good as being honest, and yeah, that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast is bring some entertaining to the audience, to whoever is watching.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we got that out of the way. We're both very interesting individuals. That's great. If you know us, you both know that me and Brandon and I share like this sort of like relationship where if you were to be from like an outside view, you're like, yeah, that's I don't know how that's working, but it is because we're both sort of like on opposite sides of the spectrum, but yet we find a way to make that work. Like we both share an interest in like you also share an interest in like entertaining. And this podcast truly shows that. And I don't think I'm much of an honest person. I think I care too much about people's feelings
Yeah.
to like, tell them like, yeah, your outfit sucks. Not that you would say it like that,
No, 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 no.
but
I
I
get it.
am
Yeah, and
right.
you. I always say that you either love me or you hate me, and I think I
Mm,
took that from my dad because he says the same thing. But you either love me or you hate me, and if I said you don't look good, then you're either gonna appreciate that I'm being honest with you, or you're gonna hate me because I'm gonna sound like an asshole. And you can take it either way. I don't really care because I'm doing what I believe, and what I believe is telling that person what my honest opinion is. And I understand if people are like, well, little white lies are okay. I'm not that person, but I understand the people who are. Like, just to not hurt people's feelings. Just if a person asked another person, do I like look nice today? And it's a little white lie of, oh yeah, you look great. Be like, that's understandable. Like I get it. I get it.
yeah, no, yeah, I that can never be me. I think I like I said, I care too much about people's feelings that sort of and it also sort of leads like to a negative impact because then I think you care too much about the opinions of other people, which is the worst thing you could possibly have. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've been sort of like treating that and making sure to care less about what other people think because I mean, at the end of the day, that really doesn't matter. It's about what you think about yourself, and that's what we're sort of try to bring to this podcast is like, hey, we're gonna be doing our own thing. We're gonna do what we want, and whether you like it or not, that's entirely up to you.
Yeah.
We yeah, and the one thing that we're I don't think we mentioned is we're not really sticking to a theme. Like you see all these podcasts that maybe some are about true crime or fitness. No, we're sort of doing like a character study, and what I mean by that is that when we bring a guest to this podcast, we're sort of going to want to examine them and try to, read them from their ins and outs. And I think that is a great thing to have in a podcast, sort of because you can read an individual and understand every decision they've ever made. And I've always like liked that idea because I mean I'm a people's person and I always try to read the person I'm having a conversation with. Sometimes it doesn't work, maybe sometimes I get the wrong interpretation, but I think with a podcast that should be about 2 hours minimum, I think that's going to give us that idea of what a person is.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's I could not be more excited for that.
Yeah. I think like I said earlier, I think learning about people is interesting because everybody's different. Like people blend in, people look the same, there's trends and stuff like that, and people will look the same, but everybody inside is 100% different every time. Like and then there's people that like people are predictable and there's stereotypes and stuff like that. So really people like I said, they're not that different on the outside. But everyone has different opinions. See, people can agree on opinions and they can think the same, but that they still have their own opinion. And everyone thinks different, and to learn how they think, to learn how they why they operate the way they do is interesting to me. I think I became who I am because of my past, and everyone becomes who they are because of their past, and everyone's past is different. So to understand who they are, you have to learn their past, and everyone's past is different. So then that's another character study of why their past was why was their past the way it was, and then why did they become who they were from that past. Like um, if there was like a dad or something or someone that was an alcoholic, would you either get mad and then like become an alcoholic yourself, or would you realize that I don't want to be that and then pride yourself to not drink? You know, like there's totally different ways to react to a situation, and I think like how people react to situations and who they become is the most interesting part of learning about someone. And I'm hoping that we can do that in this podcast, like learning about people and then talking about uh, relevant things that's going on in our world while we understand who that person is and why they are that person.
Yeah, well, now that we're sort of like on the topic of disclaimers and touching on the past, something that I feel like somebody might be interested in is how what is the name, The Last Act? What does that mean? Um, I'm sure you can answer this, Brandon.
Yeah, so when we were thinking of a name, uh, one of our friends was like the Chats, and
Yeah,
it's an interesting name. But
it's a great
when
name.
we looked through the like YouTube feeds and looked the name up on Google and stuff like that, there's a band called the Chats, and there's a whole bunch of channels on YouTube called the
Great
Chats.
music.
So we just wanted to do something else. Carlos told me that he wanted something Naughty Dog related because him and I both love Naughty Dog games like Uncharted and The Last of Us. Those are actually our favorite games. Uncharted 4 is my favorite game of all time, and Carlos's favorite game of all time is The Last of Us, and we can talk about that later. Um, so we wanted something related to Naughty Dog, and if you've already pieced together, The Last comes from The Last of Us. Then I wanted something that goes back to our origin story, which is what we can talk about next. Um, is is improv. I wanted something to relate back to that, and that's where act comes from, like acting. So put that together, the last act. And
Last Act.
if you come to this channel thinking, oh, this it's like some movie acting channel, then one, I apologize because that's not really who we are. We do plan on reviewing movies in separate episodes. We do plan on reviewing games in separate episodes, but that won't be in the podcast itself. That'll just be something totally separate. So I guess in a way we're an acting thing, but not really like at all. So it's kind of misleading, but eventually will realize, oh, the last act, that's that podcast that does this and this and this, and that's eventually what we're gonna try to build, or what we're trying to build now. Um, and I just hope people understand that. But yeah, that's where the last act come from, and I think it has a good ring to it, and I think
That's a great name. Yeah.
our editor, who's making our logo, is it has a good concept of what our logo is. It's the two faced thing where like one's happy, one's sad, and it's gonna have like our facial features on it. It's gonna be pretty good.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. We have a great mind behind that. I'm just gonna give his first name because I'm not sure if he wants his last
Yeah,
name out. But Jacob, shout out Jacob. We love you. Thank you for being behind the scenes. We love you, man.
And shout out to Allie. She dubbed
Shout out to
herself
Allie.
our secretary. She like gives us notes during meetings so we can look that over. She takes care of our calendars so we don't have to worry about that. And she does a whole bunch of things, and we're very happy for Jacob and Allie to help us out. Now, I think it's actually important to note before we continue on with our explaining our origin story that Carlos and I are in high school. We're both 17
Yeah.
years old, and we're juniors in high school. We This is our first big thing. Him and I are extremely motivated to get this started. That's why we're starting so early, and we're starting such a shitty year because we believe that the sooner you get started, you know, the better it's gonna be. And why not start now? We have no reason to not start now. So that's kind of what our thinking is. And that's our age, and you just have to understand that we don't have the things that we would like to have, like a gigabit internet. Like it's not going to happen because we have no control over that. Like our parents take care of that. So just be understanding with what we have is what we got, and keep that in mind.
Yeah, please be thoughtful, be considerate. We're still in high school, so we can't really yell at our parents to get better Wi-Fi. Like,
Yeah.
mom, what are you doing? Yeah, that'd be pretty messed up. But yeah, I liked how you described sort of our the origin story of the name. I thought that was really really beautiful because I mean you nailed it. It started with improv. I believe. I think this relationship, what we and I have right now, what you and I have right now, is sort of was like planned out from the
Hmm.
beginning in improv class. Because before then, we knew each other and we both had like a mutual respect for one another. However, it wasn't like a relationship that you could exchange opinions and exchange ideas. And I think improv really, it really helped us with that. And the teacher in there, she was so great. She sort of like really enjoyed the chemistry that you and I had, and it was just you and I. It was you, me, and my good friend Aiden. Again, not saying any last names, but yeah, what was our names? Like
What do you mean?
we had like a nickname. We had a nickname for the three of
Oh,
us.
the Holy
The
Trio.
Holy Trio. The Holy Trio. Yeah, dude, we murdered it on the stage, bro. Come on, forget about it, bro. We murdered it. There's
Yeah,
no way around it.
we originally met in that science class in seventh
Yeah.
grade, and we would almost bully each other, but
Right.
it
Yeah.
was like respectable, and it was
Yeah.
like a good laugh at the end of the day. But we truly became friends in that improv class, uh, like the Holy Trio. I mean, our teacher who taught improv knew that we were good. Every single time that we were together, or if it was just me and Carlos at one time, or if it was just Carlos and Aiden, or me and Aiden, or whatever combination, it was always a treat. We would always do a good job, and from that experience, we got to know each other better. We began to hang out more. We began to talk more and do all these different things. And over time, we like became brothers. We loved each other, and we still do. We still hang out. We still talk, and that's why we created this podcast. We like I said, the PS4 chats. Some of those chats were 3 or 4 hours long. So why not record it and upload it? So yeah.
Yeah, why not? I feel like we always touch on very interesting topics. I mean, we start from like the most simple thing, like what did you think about that video game chapter,
Hmm.
and then that just leads us to like everything.
Yeah,
Really, there
we,
is
we
no
almost go
limit
down
to
like
what
a
we talk
rabbit
it.
hole.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we go from that to fuck. We go
Um,
from that to like, was the moon landing fake?
yeah.
We that has to have its own episode because I mean, we had a hoot
Yeah.
discussing the moon landing. And again, shout out to Ali because before we made this podcast and the podcast that was, scrapped,
Yeah.
we had this we sort of had this
Lost episode.
lost episode. Yeah, we had this lost episode where we sort of just said, "Fuck it, let's make a podcast." And it really didn't have any plan, it was on the moment. We all hopped on a call and it was just so random like, "Why don't we do the podcast now?" We were both in bed. We were all very tired and we're like, "Fuck it." So boom. hit record. No, we didn't really record anything.
Mhm.
No, it was just no, yeah. I just said, all right, guys, podcast starts in 3, 2.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Blah 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 blah.
I
Right, and that
wish
was a great episode.
we were able to record that even if we had nothing, because I would love for us to be having like 2 million subscribers and then be like,
Right.
this is us in the very beginning, and LOL, we're stupid and stuff like that. But I mean, we'll never have that opportunity. We'll just be able to be like, yeah, this is what happened. That's how it happened. This is the lost episode, and we can only talk about it. We can't show it. And actually, I kind of like that better because it's something special between you, me, and Allie, and we can just
Right.
talk
Yeah.
about that and laugh about that in the future, and it'll be a good time.
Right.
Maybe
Right. It's gonna be
maybe
very
we
special
can
to have.
show them the scrapped episode one day. So I don't know about that because it's kind of
Ugh.
it's really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. We
It's
look
rough.
good. We both look good. We decided to wear sort of like a fancy getup. I just threw on like a jacket and a clip on tie, but Brandy should have seen him. My man looked like $1 billion right there. I was like, oh my god,
um,
that's my co-host.
we kind of wanted to do almost like a celebration, so you like dress up for a celebration, and that was the idea. But it's for me, it's 7:34 in the morning, and I didn't want to dress up.
Right? Yeah.
So yeah, this is just how we normally dress. Yeah, I'm always in hoodies. Carlos is wearing a beanie all the time. So yeah.
Always forget about it. You know it. Yeah. And yeah, cause Brandon, he hit me up last night and said, "Yo, I got it to work," and I could not be more tired. And I was like, "Can we just do it right now?" But yeah, it's like I said, it's great being here. I'm excited as hell.
Mhm.
There's never not a good time to start something like this with somebody you trust. You know, it's
Yeah.
great to start something so big and so ambitious with a good friend. And since our roots, since we both sort of had this mutual respect for one another, yet we threw disses at each other. Since then, that I'm great that led to bigger things, and from improv to now, it's great. And yeah, and like you said, we grew to have this like brother relationship. We always we still give each other shit sometimes, but yeah, it's with more love and more respect. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
and yeah, and usually the shit comes from disagreements, and those disagreements come from, I would say, Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog has us divided at times,
Yeah.
and yeah, but it's okay because they make some kick-ass games, so
That
I'm
that
not
can
even mad.
be the game we're talking about is The Last of Us Part Two, and we can probably do a review episode on that
Oh
alone, and it would be like 40
yes.
minutes to an hour long, just to like dissect everything. And yeah, like sometimes we can agree on things and be like, I love that part, oh, I love that part too, and talk about why we loved it. And other times it's like The Last of Us Part Two, where we're just totally divided on everything. And yeah, uh, but since we're on the topic of Naughty Dog, why don't we swing into talking about our favorite games?
Favorite games. Yeah. Well, yeah. Before we get started, I'd just like to say video games have always been a part of my life, and like entertaining, I think video games is an art form for entertainment that is just so unmatched. I mean, video games. My first video game setup was a PS1, which is very poetic because now I have the PS4, and hopefully I'll get the PS5. We'll see about that. It doesn't matter right now, but but yeah, and I remember just spending countless hours playing Captain Blasto. I think that's the name, or just Blasto.
I think
But
it's
yeah,
Blasto.
it's just Blasto, right? I put the captain for my everything. Yeah, every username is just Captain Blasto. But yeah, and since then, video games have always been a part of me. And I don't want to speak for Brandon here, but I mean, I think, because I mean, I was unsupervised for a long time when I was a kid, so I played everything. I mean, I played like Red Dead at age, I would say, 10, I think, and
Ooh.
that's probably not. Yeah, that's probably not the correct age that you want to play Red Dead or even GTA 4, which I played. I think I kind of want to say it was either a year after or a year before. I'm not really sure right now, but that's probably not when you want to play a Grand Theft Auto game. But I mean, I didn't really care. There was I knew not to take it too serious, and I think that's what most people don't understand is that like a video game can be played at any age.
Mhm.
It's just how you treat it. You sort of like glorify it and romanticize the violence. It's like, yeah, bro, you probably need to check into a hospital. But if you like take it as like a source of fun, of dumb fun, like you get to snatch people out of the cars, like that's fun. And yeah, since then, video games have always been a part of me, and now I've been slacking behind. I'm not gonna lie to you, I've been slacking behind, but Brandon, thankfully, he put me on this great series, Uncharted. But before he talks about Uncharted, I just like to ask Brandon, when did the video game world come to you? When did you find that?
So my first console was the Wii. The Wii was like revolutionary in the gaming
Oh
industry.
yes.
And I remember playing like Wii Sports Resort all the time. I remember playing Mario Galaxy, Mario Kart all the time. And it was just a treat. I could play those games for hours and hours and hours as a kid, play them over and over and over as a kid, and not get bored just because I liked the replay value of each game. It was always fun, and yeah, I actually played the Wii for a very long time because my parents were protective, and I wasn't allowed to play any PlayStation game, uh, and like be the grown-up games or something until I was 12. On my 12th birthday, I got the PlayStation 3, and it's actually on the shelf right there, the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4. And then I kind of had free reign. I could play whatever I wanted. The first game I played uh, was Call of Duty Modern Warfare, I think. And I played through that whole series. Great series, love that series. I played Burnout Paradise, probably my favorite racing game of all time. Probably the best racing game of all time, in my opinion. And if you're a Need for Speed fan, then just get out of here. Just disgust. It's
Get
just
out,
pure
yeah.
disgust. Um, but the main series that I played, which is my favorite gaming series of all time, includes my favorite game of all time, Uncharted. Such a beautiful series. Altogether, the story is just amazing. The visuals are amazing. Now, if you play Uncharted 1 and say that the visuals are amazing, I'd be a little bit like questioning you. But the game came out in 2007, and if you keep that in mind, it's like a revolutionary game. If you look at the history of Uncharted, Uncharted 1 unlocked so many new boundaries of what games are capable of and what like the ceiling of what a game should be. It should have won Game of the Year, but Uncharted 2 did, and for good reason. Like Uncharted 2 was one of the best games ever made. Uncharted 3 was a little bit of a step down, but it was still overall great story, fit right into the mix. And my favorite game of all time, Uncharted 4. Just visually breathtaking, story amazing. My favorite thing in any video game, and the reason why I like Far Cry 4 so much, is because exploration. I enjoy reading notes. I like backstories. I like all of that secret thing that's not related to the main story. It could help you understand the main story, but it's not the main story. I just like reading those things. And Uncharted 4 released a couple of years after The Last of Us did, and what they learned was notes. In the Last of Us 1, they had notes in that game, and they implemented that in Uncharted 4, and it was the best addition uh, in the Uncharted franchise, in my opinion. Other people would say the rope, but it's the notes. It just adds another level of depth to the scenery, what's going on in the world that you're in. It's great, and I recommend anybody to play Uncharted. It's such a beautiful series. Um, I don't think there's anything you could hate on it. I really don't.
Yeah, no, not that I can think of. I just finished Uncharted 4. I like to say last, no, not last night, 2 nights ago, right? 2 nights ago? I don't know. Time
Yep.
just keeps on repeating. But yeah, and I just fell in love. And I started this series, I would say either 2 months ago or 1 month ago because I really took my time with it and I really wanted to, get the most I could out of these games. And that's the mindset you want to go into them, because there are 4 games in the series if you don't count the DLC. I'm not really sure if it is a DLC or what it is, the Lost Legacy.
It was supposed to be a DLC, but they made it into its own game. So it's technically still a DLC, but it's also technically its own
Yeah, but I'm not playing that. I told Brandon I'm not
game.
I'm not I'm not gonna play that just because I mean I fell in love with Nathan Drake's adventures, and I fell in love with his character that I don't really think I can take a breather from that and say, okay, now let me see what this person's up to. Just because I'm not that person. If I become bonded with somebody, a character, I'd like to see how their story ends. And Uncharted 4 did a great way of ending his storyline and his character development or whatever, and that was just it was a beautiful way that they did it. Naughty Dog always like knocks it out of the park with that. I mean, characters, they got it on lockdown. Whether you're talking about Uncharted or Last of Us, what Naughty Dog really specializes in and is building these great and memorable characters who have these beautiful relationships with other people, and you can tell that they are just humans. Like most video games, they really like make their characters seem sort of like supernatural. But Uncharted is such like a grounded game that you can like see sort of like your friends or your family members in these characters. Whether again, whether it be Uncharted or Last of Us, you could see people in these characters. You'd see them, and yeah, Uncharted, I could not give it more praise. I could not give Naughty Dog more praise for what they did. I think Uncharted 4 is not my favorite video game. It might be my favorite in the series, but it's definitely a top three. A top three, just because Last of Us, forget about it. I mean, Last of Us 1, that is the most. I don't know how to describe it. There really isn't a way to describe it. It's sort of like you're watching a combination of a movie and a novel, a great classic novel with a fucking video game, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah,
It's so beautiful. It feels like you're hearing like a once in a lifetime ukulele performance. It's like this is beautiful. I can't keep my eyes off it. The story is so great. And I think if it were to have the graphics that Last of Us 2 has, it probably would be the best video game ever. And I don't think anything else could compare. Just because I mean the story, so brilliant, and I mean, so call it what you want, but I think it's one of the most Shakespearean video games ever. Just because I mean you can't really touch the story. I mean, like the zombie genre, I feel like that's been overplayed, but yet Naughty Dog found a way to just bring some life to this genre, by making it about the characters and the
yeah.
relationships and giving us just these hard hitting themes of regret and grief and like bonding, and I don't think anybody else could do that. Not even like fucking, no offense, but Pixar. Shout out to you guys, but I don't think you guys gotta take some notes from Naughty Dog because they're on their shit. So be careful, Pixar. But yeah, what do you? I know you're a fan of Last of
I
Us,
love
and
The
I
Last
think
of Us.
yeah, right, yeah. So where does it? Where would you put it?
Like in a ranking, in
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Like a ranking of your all-time favorite video games.
there's no particular order because I love each game, but it would be Uncharted 4, The Last of Us, and Uncharted 2. I just love those games so
That's
much.
solid.
They're great games. Go play them. But I really don't know. I know that Uncharted 4 is number one, but one or two could be a flip
Mm.
between The Last of Us and Uncharted 2. Okay, I'd probably say it'd be The Last of Us then Uncharted 2, because The Last of Us just has a story like none other. Just the father daughter aspect of the whole thing is unreal. They did a great job with it. If you haven't played it yet, go play it.
Go
It's
play it.
such a great game. Even if you're not a PlayStation uh, gamer, then buying the PlayStation just to play that game would be totally worth it. And I, I just, I don't want to spoil anything just in case people haven't seen it or played it, but you're missing out. You're missing out on one of the greatest games ever made. go play it. It's amazing. It's a treat.
Go play it. What are you doing with your life if you're not playing it? Even if you're not a gamer, go play it. Go play it for the experience. Go play it for the characters. Go play it for Ellie. Go play it for Joel. Because these characters, you're gonna fall in love with them, and I cannot express that more clear. I think if you don't if you don't take any joy in The Last of Us, there's something wrong with you. Please get checked into a hospital because Last of Us is brilliant. Forget about it. But yeah, now that we sort of talked about our video games, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something that you and I both share a great interest in, something that always brings us to like maybe an hour long discussion, and that is video games. We'll try to keep this short for the sake of the time and not boring you guys. But let's talk about movies. And movies for me, like I said, they've always been a part of me. I think like I said, I had an unsupervised childhood, so I had unlimited access to anything. I mean, I think I watched Taxi Driver way too early at a young age, and I had Brandon watch that, and even for like somebody our age to watch Taxi Driver, that's like, yo, what the fuck, dog? Like he's taking her to a what was it, like an adult film
Uh,
theater? Like
yeah,
that's like,
it was
yeah,
something
and
like
it's
that.
such a yeah, and it's such like an uncomfortable experience, but yeah, it's like a train wreck. It's gross, it's disgusting. You don't want to look at it,
Hmm.
but yet there's something like that you want to keep your eyes on. And I think Taxi Driver. I don't even know why I'm like stuck on Taxi Driver right now, but yeah, movies, they're great. I love movies. I cannot talk enough about movies, but I want to hear from Brandon.
Yeah, movies are fantastic. Um, I'm more interested in the production of movies and how they become what they are. I like how the the combination of the director and the writer. The writer writes a story and the director is almost the imagination of the story. And how they implement that into making what they make, I'm interested in that. I think that's great. And then I can see why the movie was bad, because it was probably the behind the scenes. It wasn't the actors. The actors are a big factor. Choosing the right actors for your roles is very important. But ultimately, it falls onto the directors, the writers, and all of that. Um, yeah, I think that seeing a good film will remind anybody of why movies are made. Just the idea and the creativity of creating something for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and having people thoroughly enjoy the story, the characters, the idea is something special. Um, and I someday I wish like you and I can make something that people will enjoy, a little short movie, 30 minutes, something like that, because I'm truly interested in that, and I really want to make something that people will enjoy. And I think that's like the greatest aspect of a movie, just creating something that people enjoy. Now, sometimes people are mixed on it, and some people will either like it or hate it or something like that, and that's okay, because then that creates discussion, like what you and I do all the time, like just back and forth. Oh, why did you like that? Oh, I hate it, or I hated that. Why did you like that? Stuff like that. It's it's just a good enjoyment, and quite honestly, for people who don't like movies, I can't even like comprehend why. I don't understand it. Like, how could you not enjoy a movie? You just,
Psychopath.
yeah, you just get some
Right,
popcorn
right.
and enjoy a film. Like, I just don't understand why you wouldn't like a movie.
No, yeah, the experience of like watching a movie, and I mean more specifically in a movie theater, I think that just takes you out of your world, and that's the experience that you want to have with anything. We can just sit down for like an hour and just be engulfed in a world that's outside of your reality and just be like, damn, this is a good fucking movie. Like that's what you want to have. That's what, and like you said, like maybe down the road, you and I make something that either like we do it for the people, which I don't, I like when I want to do something, we want to do it something that we want to see,
Hmm.
and you and I both share like that same vision that we both have like the same like creative. We're both on the same creative level where we both like we know what we like and we know what we don't like, so we can maybe down the road we can make something, so we'll just see about that. But yeah, movies are great. My favorite movie I'd say is Rocky, just because I think I've that's always a movie that I go back to. And I mean, you can argue that Rocky Two is, maybe better than Rocky One, but I'd just like to say there would be no Rocky Two without the one. So you got to give respect to it. You can never disrespect Rocky. I mean, Sylvester Stallone. Shout out to my guy, my man. I just hit him up the other day. I congratulated him. Right? No, yeah. But yeah, Rocky. I mean, you can never go wrong with Rocky. I feel like that's always a movie that either I go back to because I want to watch it again, or I go back to because I'm feeling down and maybe seeing Rocky do his little training montage will like lift me up and get me back to the gym the next morning. Because it's like it's a movie that manages to do it all. It manages to inspire. It manages to make you fall in love with like characters, and it's sort of everything. It's a sport drama. It's a sort of like a comedy with like his little like Rocky's quirkiness or whatever, and it's like a romantic movie. When you're talking about Adrian and Rocky. I mean, even the story behind Rocky, I'm not really getting into it right now, but I mean, how Sylvester Stallone was a struggling actor and who sold his script that he himself said, I will not sell you the script if you don't let me act in it. And that's such a beautiful story. That's a success story that, like Brandon and I said earlier, you guys probably weren't here for this, but we said that, that that art of becoming a struggling whatever and making your own art to the world, it's sort of going to be like lost in time, with like how everything is right now. I mean, to be honest, like we're not going to hear a success story like Sylvester Stallone's. I feel like if you have a little bit of clout anywhere, then you could probably get in the next Hollywood movie, and that's. And Rocky, I keep going back to it because it reminds me of that time. Not that I was alive in that time. I'm pretty sure it came out in like '72 or whatever. But it reminds you, like looking at him, like damn, like you can tell that this man was a human being. He wasn't caught up in a social media app. Like this guy had a vision. And he wanted to tell that vision. And I mean, you can never go wrong with Rocky. Forget about it. Sylvester Stallone, forget about it. What about you, Brian? What's your favorite movie?
Um, my favorite movie, I can't pick one. I just like too many.
Really?
Um,
Oh yeah, I feel
I'm
that. I
one
feel
of
that.
those guys to where I can enjoy a lot of films and appreciate each one differently. Um, but if I have to give a favorite, I wouldn't say it is my favorite, but I have to shout it out because I remember watching it as a kid and enjoying it every single time. And people are gonna flame me, people are gonna hate me, but it's Gone in 60 Seconds. I just
Ooh, ooh,
I
yes.
love Gone in 60 Seconds. I think it's a great movie. Now, yeah, it has like 30% Rotten Tomatoes, but I don't care. I think it's great. Oh, voice crack. um, I think it's a great movie. I enjoy it every time. I watched it on Netflix when they had it out a few weeks, months ago, whenever, and I enjoyed it still. I thought it was great. Um, but yeah, I enjoy a ton of movies like Million Dollar Baby, all those good ones, Gran Torino. Um, I like even the Avengers movies, Black Panther, Endgame, Infinity War. There's so many genres and films that I can appreciate and I enjoy each one. There's not a specific movie that I can point out and be like, that one's my favorite. Also, if I'm like blown out like this, I apologize. The sun is coming out. Um, like I said, it was early when we started recording, so I'm trying to like shift away from the light. But if I'm blown out, I
Right.
apologize.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, movies for me, it's sort of like music in a way, just because I can listen to anything other than country. But I mean, I can watch anything other than what is it? I mean, musical is pretty good, but I can't really do the whole what is like the period pieces. I think that's sort of like country in a way, just because I cannot do it. I cannot sit through like 3 hours of it, like will they, won't they? Like, come on, dog.
Yeah,
No, that's not for me. What I want is just dumb fun, and whether that be in a Marvel movie that always sticks to the same tropes, that's still dumb fun. And like what I don't appreciate, sort of like a hot take here, I'm gonna get kind of controversial, is how people are like treating Marvel movies as if they were meant to be held up as cinema at its purest form. Like, no, it's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to go to a Marvel movie and have like a riot with your friends. And we've had that experience before. We went to watch Captain Marvel with you and I, and a couple of other friends, and that was just how Marvel movies are meant to be watched. They're meant to be watched with a large crowd who can all share the same opinion that this is just dumb fun.
Yeah. Um, what I enjoy is just pure good storytelling. Like there's action, there's good storytelling, there's good actors. Every single time I enjoy a movie, it's mainly because of how good the actors were in it and how good the directors and the writers told that story that the that everyone was participating in. I think I would say almost every single movie that I've seen, um, because I like to watch like award-winning films and why they're award-winning, uh, and they're all fantastic. Now, there's movies like Moonlight, where it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but if you just understand filmmaking and why they made that story and the idea behind it, it's a great film. And I think Moonlight is a great movie. Go watch Moonlight. Um, yeah, like you enjoy dumb fun. I just enjoy good acting and good storytelling. If you have those two things, more than likely I'll enjoy your movie. Uh, and take it away. I'm going to try and close my curtain.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can enjoy anything about a movie. I mean, I'm not really stuck to like the whole dumb fun. I mean, what I really like in a movie is sort of the character. I think if you have a great character, then you can have a great movie. And if you don't have a good character, if you don't give me somebody who I can root for, then you probably won't get my 10 out of 10 review. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for movies. Like I said, I love movies. I've said it too many times. You guys are probably bored, but all right. Now let's get into some. Should we get into some happy news?
Yeah, let's do that. Let me pull up my article real quick.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, like we didn't really mention this before, but what Brandon and I are trying to do with this podcast is also shed some light on the good things that are happening out in the world. I think that when you watch the news, you get like 28 minutes of pure and utter shit. You get war, disease, and some kid got shot at the playground, and that's it's hard hitting news that it sort of takes you out from the great things about the world, from the most beautiful things that human beings could do to one another. And what we are trying to do with this podcast is sort of, like I said, shed some light into the good things that are happening out. Something you probably won't hear in your at your local what's the news network, like Fox, I guess, or it's yeah. Look, listen, we're not oblivious to the fact that there are bigger things happening out in the world, but that doesn't mean you can disregard the most beautiful news out in the world. Like for example, maybe I mean I guess I have an idea of what you're gonna of the news you're gonna say. I think you have an idea of mine. What I'm gonna say is during the Thanksgiving holiday, there was a man from Utah, a successful real estate agent, Rob Adams, who donated more than 2,500 Thanksgiving meals, all weighing over 50 pounds, to the homeless. And that is just something so extraordinary, something that truly shows you the most beautiful aspect of a human being. And Rob Adams, like I said, he is a great individual to do something with like my man has like a heart of gold. That is what that is. If you give out like something so meaningful to people like that, it's great. That's truly human beings that at their greatest form is when you can give back to the world. And I mean, and Rob Adams, his story is this. All right, so he had a rough childhood growing up. He had a rough childhood. I'd like to say I think he said at age 12 he was homeless himself, living in the back of a pickup truck or sleeping in the back of a pickup truck. And he sort of had the idea that he wanted to give when once he somebody gave something to him. If I do believe correctly, his neighbors let him and his family borrow their house and stocked up the fridge with all sorts of food. And he saw that, and he used that as motivation, as inspiration to do that when he grows up. And so he became a successful real estate agent, and that allowed him to give back to the world. And that's what we're here for. That's what we want to show, and we want to give shout out to Rob Adams. Not that he needs a shout out from us, but just um, yeah. Don't forget Rob Adams. You are a great individual, and you're inspiring everybody, and you're inspiring us to do bigger things.
Yeah. I wish I can be him or be like him someday, where I'm fortunate enough to where I can buy someone else's meals, or I'm fortunate enough to give my extra time to help other people and stuff like that. I think that's very good, especially from a person who, like people have, like rich people have that stereotype of, well, they're so rich they don't care about poor people or something like that. And to see like a rich person go back and take care of other people that used to be like him, uh, it's heartwarming. It's nice to see that. But before I get into what I found, or what Allie found and gave to me, um, I would just like to say that every episode near the end, we're gonna try and spread good news. You guys might be familiar with John Krasinski's channel, or old channel. I think it's deleted, or I don't know what happened. But John Krasinski's channel of Some Good News. All he would do is is find good news that happened in the world and put that on his channel. There's no political stuff. There's no shootings. There's nothing that's going like bad or typical news. It would just be good stuff. And then he would bring those people onto his show and talk about why they did it, or stuff, who they are, why they did stuff, and things like that. And that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to spread the word of good news and um, let people know that not everything is all bad. You know, Especially this year, people are like, or are freaking out, saying like this is the worst year ever, and other things. But you just have to keep in mind that it can be worse. You know, Things are bad, and things are going to continue being bad. Even in 2021, it's going to still be bad. Um, but it could be worse. And you just have to realize that things can be worse and take that and carry that with you. So, with that, my article is The Golden Labrador Who Keeps on Giving. The dog is named Stumpy, and it's
That's
kind of
cute.
ironic because uh, he has a deformed leg, and so Stumpy as a name is kind of funny and cute. But he was meant to be a guide dog for the blind, and he couldn't do that because of his deformed leg. So instead, he took up the responsibility of donating blood. He has a special blood type. I don't know what it is. I don't think it says. But he's able to donate to any dog with any blood type. And he's donated blood to 100 canines who that has saved their lives. And the where I found this, or where Ali found it, is BBC News. So thank you for BBC for not writing all of the bad things and writing some good things. And I think that's a very interesting thing, to where I actually didn't know that dogs were able to give blood as well. I mean, it sounds obvious now, but I didn't know they did that, and now you guys
Dude, shout out to the dogs out there in the world. I
know.
mean, I don't think us humans could get to where we are right now if it weren't for our reliable dogs, you know. And I myself have a dog. She's a cute little. I'm not really sure what she is. She's a mix of like a beagle and something else. But Leia, I love you if you're out there. She's out there. She's sleeping out there. But yeah, and you yourself have a dog,
I have
Sadie,
two.
right?
Yeah, I have Sadie.
Two,
She's
right?
a
Yeah.
golden retriever, and
Oh,
I have
she's a cutie.
Toby. He's a black lab and retriever. Yeah.
Yeah. You're a little Sadie, man. It's the cutest dog I've ever seen. And that's like it's so great to have, dogs because it shows you what we can aspire to be. Sort of be these individuals who can learn to forgive and forget so easily. I mean, I have a bad moment with my doggo where maybe she pees on the rug and I get mad and like yell, I'm like, yo, why did you do this? And then she gets upset. She curls up and probably goes to her crate or whatever. But then like in the next, not even the next hour, she's already by my side,
hmm
and that sort of thing that we need to learn from dogs, and and like you said, Stumpies, to give to the world what you have. It's like with great power comes great responsibility. Shout out to Spider-Man. But it's, if you're given a power, if you're given a duty, you need to carry out that duty and do it for for the better of the world. You know, to
Hmm.
give back to others. And shout out Stubby again.
Yeah. No,
Right,
I
right.
think that's an interesting comparison that I've never really seen before, to where, we could be more like our friendly pals. You know,
Right, yeah.
um, just being able to forgive is such a huge thing in this world, to where it's the best way to learn and adapt for the future. Just be realizing your past and accepting what happened and forgiving the people who let that happen and forgiving yourself. Even forgiveness to yourself is such a huge thing. And yeah, I mean, just
Yeah.
be
I
kind to
mean,
one another, you know.
yeah, please,
If
yes.
almost shout out to Ellen DeGeneres,
Right.
she says that at the end of every episode, but I mean, it's true. Just being nice to everyone, being kind to everyone, spreading good news, um, learning from people, learning from your mistakes, and forgiving people and all those things. It is huge parts in being a good person and trying to be a better person. And yeah, we need more good people. And there's good people
Yeah.
all around us, and there's also bad people all around us. And you really it's almost difficult to filter who's good and who's bad, but you just have to realize that there's good people everywhere. You could almost go anywhere and see good people and see good things happen. And yeah, you just have to pay attention to that, and again realize that things aren't as bad as they seem.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think, and that's something that we're also trying to do with this podcast is not only shed light on the good things that are happening in the world, things that you probably wouldn't hear about, but also like bring in good people, good and honorable people who could, sort of make who people who can make the world look good. And I myself have some ideas of who I would like to have on the podcast and sort of bring in to, like, sort of dissect their kind and their wholehearted minds to sort of understand, like, all right, what does it take to be a good person? And if and hey, if you're listening out there and you think that you're a good individual, contact us. We would like to have you on the podcast. We would like to see what goes on in the brain of yours
Hmm.
to make you leave a positive impact on the world and those that surround you. So yeah, I think that does it for the good news and for everything else. Now that we're sort of like now that we're like wrapping everything up here, I would just like to end things with sort of like an ambitious note. Brandon, like I know who you're gonna say, so just so you could leave it out to the audience, to whoever's listening. Who would you like? All right. So I'm gonna word it differently. All right, I'm gonna word it differently. What you have and what I have in this podcast is ambition. We want to take this podcast to the next level. It's already been taken to the next level by all sorts of greats. However, what we're trying to do is not only like reach to that level, but we want to go beyond that. And like we have ambition, and people enjoy listening to ambition because it reminds them of themselves and the ambition that they have with whatever it may be. And the thing that comes with ambition is hoping to have maybe like a sort of like of how many, whatever many viewers or whatever many subscribers. And I would like to hear from you. What do you hope to have? Uh, Speaking about guests, like who would you like to have down the road? Who is your dream guest?
like you said, you already know who it is,
I
but it's
know,
it's
yeah,
it's Elon Musk. Just
it's got to be. It's got to be. Forget about it.
the guy is such an interesting dude. He gives no shits. I mean, he built a tunnel just because he was tired of traffic in Los Angeles, and he just randomly sold flamethrowers and all these crazy things just to promote this dumb tunnel because he hated traffic. And the dude is just like a good, interesting guy. And he's not your typical guy either, simply because he doesn't give a shit. And I just think that's so interesting and I want to learn why he is that way. I want to talk to him and learn his opinions on things that's happening in the world, and I don't know. I just think he would be a pretty good guest on our show or on podcast,
Yeah.
not show.
So, yeah, definitely. Like I said, I'm in contact with Sylvester Stallone. I think they're friends, so I'll see if we can work something out. But yeah, yeah, that's great. Elon Musk, he's an interesting dude. You know, he's sort of like the Bruce Wayne of our world. Sort
Yeah,
of like the billionaire who really doesn't give a fuck. You know, he
yeah,
really doesn't
exactly.
give a fuck about the title billionaire. He's just sort of there for the memes. Yeah. And whether it be from like dressing up as a bat or to make fucking uh, shorts and pricing them at 69 what 420 whatever, you know, whatever. That's just so like, who does that, you know, like Elon Musk, bro, please come on the podcast. We would like,
uh,
not only would we like some of those shorts, but we would like to dissect your mind.
mhm.
But yeah, my who I would love to bring to this podcast is sort of a leap here. So and he's sort of like my inspiration for also doing this and starting this and being, trying to challenge myself, whether that be physically or mentally. It is Joe Rogan. I think he's one of the I think he's one of like the greatest humans to ever step foot on this planet, whether it be from, doing all sorts of things, from being like a comedian, which, I also found some interest in, or from, making one of the like the greatest, one of, if not the greatest podcast ever, the Joe Rogan Experience. Forget about it. One of it truly is an experience, to sit there for like 3 hours or do whatever you want. I sort of like do my little workout while listening to the Joe Rogan Experience, and it's truly an experience. It truly is an experience because you get to hear from people from all sides of the world, and yeah, he is my inspiration, and I would one day want to bring him to here. But that's further down the road. For right now, we're sort of we're trying to start from the bottom and work ourselves up. But with ambition, who knows where that can take us?
Yeah. Um, yeah. Like Carlos was saying, we're starting near the bottom. So it's gonna be like our friends and talking to them, learning about what they think, stuff like that, and then maybe even some of our teachers that we like Carlos's theater teacher, Mr. Lee. We would be interested in having him. The teacher who taught us improv in 8th grade, Mrs. McPherson. We would
Shout
enjoy
out.
having her. Yeah, it's probably not going to be people that you're interested in because we're near the bottom. But it's people regardless, and everyone's different, and just the interests that they have and why they are who they are, and talking about what they think about current events going on is going to be an interesting topic no matter who it is. And you could meet anyone in some random street and learn so much about just humanity and why people are who they are. And yeah, it's just if they're not if it's not your cup of tea and you only want to watch for oh, Elon Musk is on the show, then that's okay. You can watch for that. But for everyone else, just keep in mind that it may not be people who you know, but it's still going to be interesting regardless. And because we're just learning about people and everyone's different. So it doesn't matter who's on because everyone's different.
Oh, yeah. Titles really don't matter when you're in a conversation. I don't think a good conversation relies on if you're the person you're talking to is a billionaire or an influencer. What matters is that they are a genuine human being who truly listens and wants to give their input in a very honorable and respectable manner. And that's what we want to bring to this podcast. Like I've mentioned before, is people who can, you know do that in our podcast, and we're hoping to, like I said, make something so that further down the road we can open other doors. And who knows, like, Brandon had told me, he said that he aspires to, maybe down the road, if we ever do stumble upon some luck, go his own direction and do these other great things. And that's the same thing with me. I would also like to, use this as an opportunity to open another door that would help me, like I said, entertain or bring something to the world that I would like to see myself. And Brendan, do you want to touch on that? What's like a door that you would like to open if we ever do, stumble upon some luck here?
Um, I would like to do a gaming channel or live stream on Twitch or something like that because I've always enjoyed games, I've always enjoyed movies, and I don't want to have this office job where I'm forced to work on this boring thing that I don't want to work on. I want to experience things that other people make, or make them myself even. I want to play those things, I want to watch those things, and then I want to share that with other people. So if this takes off, then it takes off and we can do other things too. But ultimately, I would like to uh, have this go as long as we can possibly make it go. Um, and even if it doesn't work out, we can. There's two things that will help us from this podcast. In one, we can just laugh at it about whatever opinions are when we're like 50 years old drinking some beers, and it'll just be a good time watching what we think or what we thought back at good old 17 years old. And the other thing is it can help us with our careers. Maybe someone watches this and then realize, dang, they have a talent. They built something with almost nothing and developed it into a following where people like to listen in and what they have to say and stuff like that. And we could have that experience of starting something on social media and promoting ourselves through social media, and in a world where social media is like the new meta, it's a good thing to know, and people will be almost looking for that kind of thing. Um, so there are benefits to this, even if it doesn't work out, and we only have 3 views of a video, and that's okay too.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, it really for us, it really doesn't matter how many viewers we start with, as long as we still have something that we can always like look back to and sort of use as a time capsule. Because this is a time capsule. I mean, we are at our glory days. 17 years old. This is what you would like. Something you could preserve, and for like, for in 30 years down the road, we can look back and like you said, like look back at the dumb, interesting conversations that we share. And to have that is it's what you would like to have with a good friend,
Mhm.
and down the road share a few beers or scotch or whatever and watch whatever is out in 30 years. I don't know if if Sunday night football game is still going to be a thing, or if a movie is still going to be a thing. But I guess we'll see, and we'll use this to look back at the simpler days, whatever that means. And yeah, I also like to say now I'm blowing up. The sun's coming out, but like I mean, we're wrapping things up here, so I'm not really too worried about that. But yeah, again, I'd like to say thank you if you're still here. Thank you for tuning in. This is our first episode, like I mentioned. And yeah, tell us what you think. Tell us what you would like to see on the next podcast. On the next episode, tell us what, maybe if there's something that you would like to share, some good news of yourself. Just reach out to us. We're very easy to contact and yeah, I mean, if you have an idea of a guest we would sort of be interested in hearing, reach out to us. Reach out to Bram. Reach out to me. Any closing thoughts, Brandon?
um, just a few things to touch on. Just like the video. Uh, Obviously, our main platform is going to be YouTube. But we're also going to do Spotify, Reddit, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. I think that's all of them. So go follow us on all of those. We already have accounts up on all of those. I think besides Spotify, we still have to look into that. But um, yeah. And shout out to everyone who's helped us so far. Shout out to my dad for giving me the equipment to make this happen. Thank you to Allie for being our little secretary. Thank you to Jacob for helping us with editing and making our logo. And thank you, Carlos, for wanting to start this little adventure with me. And thank you for anyone who's going to support us or willing to support us. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the near future.
Yeah. Thank you to you, Brandon. I think it's very interesting to share an experience with somebody who's equally as ambitious, if not more, because you are very. And what I enjoy about starting with you is that it's sort of like I can tell that you yourself have a vision from where you want to take this, and it's a vision that I respect and a vision that I can also see, and also want to share and be like, yeah, this is where we want to take this podcast. And but yeah, that pretty much does it for us. It's been great. It's been great talking with you, Brandon. You
Once
are
more.
like always. Wait, what's up?
Once more. Talking again once more.
Once more, once more. It probably won't be the last time we talk. We'll probably like have like another like PS4 party chat later. But yeah. Shout out to Ali. Shout out. You already did the shout out. So it doesn't matter. But shout out to Naughty Dog. Come to this podcast.
Yeah, we would love to have Neil Druckmann up here.
Neil Druck, dude, that's also a dream.
That'd be a
guest
dream.
right there. Neil Druckmann, come on, yeah, come on, come to this podcast, Neil Druckmann. What are you doing? But yeah, that does it for us. Thank you for tuning in. This isn't our last episode, so tune in for more. And it's every Sunday we'll be dropping an episode. We're not sure if we're going to be a seasonal podcast where we drop it a certain amount of episodes and then go on hiatus, but we are dropping every Sunday. And more news to come, whether we're dropping the news on Instagram or on the podcast itself. Stay tuned for more because there are more things coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening, and it's been great. It's been the Last Act podcast.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Peace.